What was up, nerds? Make sure y'all put the nerds in the chat, and let's get straight into the video. This update on the Nolan Wells case. Mysterious.
From a mother filing off subpoenas to tech companies, to audio furthering conspiracy theories that may now be debunked, to video that may change what this whole case is about, there are a lot of updates and developments in the Nolan Wells death investigation we need to talk about. Welcome.
Bro, I ain't gonna lie. That's crazy. This Nolan Wells case is keep getting cringe and cringe. Like, what is going on, bro? What happened to bro? What happened to LeBro?
The Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Okay, got new developments in the Nolan Wells case that we need to talk about as the family is desperately seeking answers. The public has been invested in this. It's all about the truth of what happened to this 18-year-old young man. There are developments about subpoenas, audio, video, official documentation, possibly drinking. And we're going to get into it all with a former detective. I wanted an investigator on this to make sense of this, what's happening behind the scenes, how we should put it into overall context. It's important conversation. Now, even before we get started, what happened to Nolan? Was it a tragic accident or was it foul play? Context first, before we get into the developments. So 18-year-old Nolan Wells from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. He was a college student, football player. On the 4th of July, he went with a group of friends to Horn Island, a barrier island off the Mississippi coast, to celebrate. At some point, he disappeared. He was reported missing that night, and you had this massive search that was launched. 2 days later, July 6th, that is when his body was found on the island, washed ashore.
It's crazy that today is July 29th, almost the 30th. It's been almost a month, and we still don't got the autopsy of, bro. People be finding out the autopsy, damn near like a day later. How we still don't got the autopsy? And then like another thing, like, it's crazy. This is so spooky, bro. This is spooky case, bro. I don't know what's going on. And like, I wonder how he know all, like, how he get all the information. Well, anyway, let's get back into it.
Question, of course, is what happened to him. It remains a question. Nobody has publicly been able to answer it. The results of the family's independent autopsy listed Nolan's cause and manner of death as undetermined. The pathologist found that pieces of his body, we're talking portions of the neck, had apparently been removed by the state medical examiner during that first examination. So this second autopsy, this second examiner couldn't determine what exactly happened to Nolan. Couldn't rule out foul play, couldn't say whether there was injury to his neck, whether there was trauma to his neck. And that leaves many questions on the table. Raises a question of whether the state ME is conducting further testing of those components, or whether that will definitively conclude what happened to Nolan. Was there trauma? Was there drowning? Was it accidental or not? Perhaps tough given those conditions. You're also talking about decomposition. Oh, and there's the red discoloration apparently found on the back of the head. I spoke to medical experts about that. Some say it could be from decomposition. Some say maybe it could be blunt injury before death, because the body wouldn't discolor like that after death. And remember what's going on here. The family wants answers. The family hired attorney Ben Crump and his team to navigate this, to do an independent investigation. And there seems to be a distrust of law enforcement here. And they're looking for answers that they may feel they're not going to get from official channels. So let me get into all these new developments. And before they do that, I want to bring in Matt Irvine, retired detective, law enforcement instructor, who's going to help us break it all down. Matt, good to see you. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Jesse.
Okay, first I got to talk about these subpoenas. Just came out last night. I definitely wanted to cover this. So Nolan's mother, who we've talked about a lot on this program.
Boy, they got subpoenas out, boy. The subpoenas, I mean, they about to start arresting people. What's going on? Ooh, it's getting good, Chad. Get your popcorn.
Christine Wensley has appeared to file subpoenas for records from TikTok, Snap, so Snapchat, WhatsApp, Meta, Life360. They are part of this legal case regarding the estate of her son, the estate of Nolan Wells. And these are very specific subpoenas, court order requiring a witness to produce documents or records or evidence. And it appears that they were filed by attorney Gary Bufkin, who is apparently working with Ben Crump, who we know the family has retained as counsel in this matter. And this was filed in the Chancery Court of Jackson County. So, for example, here's just the WhatsApp subpoena to give you an idea. It says, quote, "You are hereby commanded within 21 days from the receipt of this subpoena, but no sooner than 15 days from the receipt of this subpoena, to produce and permit inspection and copying of all documents, electronically stored information, records, and tangible things designated below, and to deliver, mail, transmit, or make available for inspection said materials to counsel for petitioner," meaning Ms. Wonsley. Now you go down a little bit further, it says, "Materials to be produced within 21 days. All materials and information of all kinds, regardless of form, in your possession, custody, or control, or accessible to you concerning Nolan Xavier Wells, his cell number," and then it gives his email address, "including without limitation all subscriber information associated with the account, all current and prior usernames, email addresses, phone numbers, and display names associated with the account creation date, and the IP address used to create the account, all IP addresses tied to actions on the account, including logins, password resets, two-factor enrollment, all IP addresses tied to friend events on the account, all communications configured as public on the account, and all related data and metadata, all non-content information concerning the account, all information that identifies or may be used to identify any party messaging in a conversation with the account, and all communications, including messages and group messages to, from, or including the account, all photographs, video recordings, audio recordings, content, attachments, text files, transcripts, GPS data, location data, metadata, sender receipt, timestamp logs, device identifiers, friends list history, and all other electronically stored information of all kinds related in any way to the account." Now, why is this relevant? Give you an idea. According to TMZ, Christine had used Life 360 to track down her son's phone, which was apparently with his friends, and then compared the location data from that app with Snapchat, and there's a report that didn't match. We also know at one point it was reported that Christine had...
What the... So wait, hold on. So you telling me his phone, location where his phone was at, and his Snapchat didn't match? How? That don't even make sense. So did somebody log into his Snapchat on a different device? Snapchat can tell y'all that. You guys subpoena Snapchat.
Wondered whether material from Nolan's phone had been deleted, that there were reportedly no pictures or videos from his Snapchat account or on his Snapchat account. Now, we also know that Nolan's purported friend, Warren Hudson, told Brandon Tatum on the Officer Tatum Show, this YouTube show, quote, "There was no reason for us to get on Nolan's phone. No one touched Nolan's phone. If none of us had touched Nolan's phone, then, there's no reason for anything to be deleted." All right, I know, Matt, I threw a lot at you. Why are we seeing these subpoenas?
Well, I think there's a couple of things going on here. First of all, this language in these subpoenas is pretty standard for any subpoena that is demanding the production of records from any electronic service provider. These are the kinds of things you would look for in putting together a case. I'm expecting that the Jackson County Sheriff's Department is commanding the production of the same kind of information, either through subpoena or a search warrant. But I think this speaks to the fact...
Chad, I ain't gonna lie. Why they got this old ass nigga telling us stuff about this case, bro? He making me sound like an old professor that making me tired, bro. Like, we need another nigga, a young turn nigga like dude that first was talking. He was kind of like, he's speaking a little faster. This nigga speaking too slow. I can't understand, for real.
That Nolan Wells' family, as they've expressed, does not have confidence in the integrity or the impartiality of the law enforcement investigation, and so they are conducting their own investigation. And that, I think, gets to the larger issue of why so much of this country is talking about this case at this time. And I mentioned to you when we spoke before that there are legitimate reasons why some people don't trust law enforcement. To put a finer point on it, there is a terrible history in this country of black men, particularly young black men, being murdered by white men who get away with it. And unfortunately, in a lot of those cases, the role of law enforcement has ranged from indifference to complicity. Specifically in Mississippi, Emmett Till's body was discovered submerged in water after being murdered by white men who got away with it, roughly 4 or 5 hours drive from where Nolan was found. The 3 civil rights workers who were murdered by white men who were Klansmen and also police officers were found less than 200 miles from where Nolan Wells was found.
I ain't gonna lie, knowing all that history, bro, why do black people even live in Mississippi, bro? I ain't gonna lie, like me personally, I never thought in my life, like I moved around a lot. I never was like, hey, let me move to Mississippi. Yeah. Why the hell would I do that? Like that never one of the places I would be like, okay, let me start my family and live in Mississippi. No. Fuck. Why would you do that?
So I'm not casting any aspersions on the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, and I certainly don't claim to know how Nolan Wells died. But it does not surprise me that a black family in Mississippi, given this history, would have questions when their son dies mysteriously and would not accept at face value what was being represented to them by authorities. So I think these subpoenas and this independent investigation speak to that.
No, you raise a good point. You raise a good point about their concerns, their reservations, their need for answers, their need for transparency. The one thing I'll say is, you hire Ben Crump, we've talked about this before, puts a lot of pressure, puts a spotlight on this case, puts pressure on law enforcement to conduct a thorough investigation and give answers to the public. Not saying they wouldn't have done that regardless, but the family had concerns that it seemed law enforcement was automatically saying there was no foul play, nothing to see here. I do have a question, though. You raised an important point. You said, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's likely you would assume that law enforcement has tried to obtain the same records. If they didn't, if it comes out they didn't try to get the same records from these social media companies and Nolan's family is, does that signify to you a deficit in the investigation?
It would.
Yes.
I mean, they should be at this point seeking information from every possible source. That would include human sources, and I've heard reported that they've spoken to something like 60 plus people, but they should definitely be seeking every form of evidence from electronic media, whether it be...
And what would they be doing for it? I mean, what would they use it for? What would they be trying to find out? How you're an investigator, you get all this information, what do you do with it?
Well, there's a few things, right? I mean, they should be looking at the phones of anybody on the island that has, come forward in the investigation to say that they have had any interaction or even any sightings of Nolan Wells on July 4th, and combing through all of that electronic data, looking at communication.
And it's so crazy, bro, because y'all be quick to try to move y'all kids, black people, away from other black people. But I'm moving my kids from the hood. We got nothing but white people over here. Same stuff can happen, you know what I'm saying? Same people, they doing the thing over there. I want to move my kids in a good area that's black, because I'm black. Sorry. No race. I'm just saying.
Looking at images from the devices of anybody that interacted with Nolan Wells on Horn Island that day, not just his friend group. They also should be looking at these electronic service providers to see if there were any images, any communication from Nolan that day that for some reason isn't on his phone. They should be looking,
you can tell
for example,
that? I mean, this information would tell you if something was deleted?
So very often when somebody deletes content from their phone, it remains on the servers of the electronic service providers. Some of that depends on the application. Some of it depends on the permissions and privacy you've got set up on your device. But it is certainly possible for somebody to believe they have deleted something from a device and to have that data still remain on the servers of the electronic service provider.
Does it seem to you that they are preparing a lawsuit of some kind? It's not the first time that somebody would file a lawsuit after they obtain certain information, potentially through a subpoena. Is that something you are wondering? Because remember, the family's represented by counsel.
It's certainly a possibility, and it's not unusual when somebody loses a loved one to want to seek some kind of accountability, and particularly if you feel that the authorities are not discharging their duties effectively, a lawsuit can be one way to seek some form of accountability.
By the way, how accurate are these apps in your opinion or your expertise in terms of tracking someone's location?
I would say that a lot of these applications are tremendously accurate. I mean, they work off of satellites. And I just recently had to help my daughter find her phone using an app. And I was able to locate it literally within probably a dozen or so feet from where she left it. So these apps are very accurate. And if, for example, Nolan Wells was wearing some other form of smart technology, a smartwatch or something like that, they could certainly show the distance of Nolan Wells from his phone.
Facts. That was a good update right there, but we got to go to some... let's go check somebody else, bro. I ain't gonna lie. He was about to make me go to sleep. Okay, that's 2 hours ago. We're gonna see what he talking about.
Too big to
Well, that's the end of the video, chat. We learned a lot already, so that's it. You hear me? We in there, Nolan Wells.